Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome Cheetah Nation on Facebook. Welcome our Zoom call, Boss Babes, and welcome to our YouTube watchers. We have about, believe it or not, you guys, like 250 people every week that watch the Boss Babe call. And so it's kind of fun when that happens. And, I've been sharing it with some different groups. One of them is the Go Give group, and that just really are not plugged into a national. And so anyway, so I thank you all for calling in on time and calling in on the Zoom call. And those of you that are joining us on Facebook, it's good to see you. I know some people are not all about the Zoom and don't understand it all. So I thought, well, we'll try this too. So today is January the 6th, 2019. So this is our very first Boss Babe call of the year. And I have got some new material for y'all. Isn't that nice to know? As a leader, sometimes and as a consultant, you might think, if I was a director, I don't even know if I'd know what to say all these calls. How would I think of something, And so one of the things you do is when you read books, when you go to functions, when you listen to different podcasts or videos or motivational speakers, you learn. And when you learn, your mind is expanded and then you have things to say. So this weekend, I spent a 2-day conference with my husband, Brad. He is in a health and wellness company, and it was a conference for leaders. And all of the speakers, their average income was $500,000 or more. One of the speakers had made $200 million. Now, let that sink in for a second. So what I have found is whether you're selling makeup or you're selling, energy drinks or vitamins, in our network marketing society, our direct sales, what we do, it's really very similar to what everybody does as far as their business. And what they talked about more than the products or any specifics was mindset on successful people. And so when they were talking, of course, I am thinking about Mary Kay. And I wrote down tons of notes that I wanted to share with y'all that I thought, that's so good. A lot of it I've heard because I have been in, this business for 33 years. So most of the things that I heard or a lot of different quotes and things, I thought, yep, that's good. But you realize that the average person that just joined a Mary Kay has never been to these kind of conferences. They've not been in business, so they haven't been exposed to this. So I wanted to share some of this with you. And it's great to see all these people on Facebook too. So that's awesome. We got 22 people right now on Zoom and about, I don't even know how many people on Facebook. So it's awesome. So I'm going to first of all just give you some nuggets of I'm going to give you some nuggets of some of the quotes and things that I learned. And if I were you, I would just get a pen and a piece of paper down unless you're driving. And you might want to just write a few notes down because some of this is so good. I think it will apply to you. And it may not maybe every single thing I say, but there'll be something that you go, no, that's good. That's a good nugget. And you may want to just write on a piece of paper and put it on the top of your computer, okay? And so they started out the whole conference by saying, don't trust your fortune to your memory. And the older you get and the busier you get and the more things you do, your memory is not as sharp. And so what happens is you want to write it down. And I know when I started in my 50s and probably before that, it's really when you got a lot going on. You just don't remember everything. So you write it down. And Mary Kay Ash always taught us to write down your 6 most important things, to journal. And she used to say the faintest ink is better than the most retentive memory. So I encourage you on these calls to jot some notes down. You don't have to write down everything someone says, but what stands out to you, okay? So one of the things that I thought was awesome is that he said every company and every business, and I want you to think of not Mary Kay Corporation, but your Mary Kay business. Because remember last week we talked about it's your baby, okay? So it's your business. And every business, every single business in America and in the world has peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. And your goal is not to die in the valley. Every single one of us. I have had valleys in my business, and you will too. No one has peaks and stays peak. No one does. And if they say they do, they're not telling the truth. These leaders that were all, making $500,000 or more, okay, in a year, not in their lifetime, in a year. A lot of them showed charts of their business in like the last 10 years. And they showed where they were and how they'd reached this. And then the next month they might be right here. And then they'd reach this. And then they might be here, where like most of people that have not been in a working for themselves, they kind of think the road is like this. You start here and then you just go up to right there. There's the goal. But what it really looks like is it's all over the place. And then there's the goal. And that's for me, that's going to be for you and anybody in the business. So when you have times that aren't as successful, that's not when to quit. You just know there's peaks and valleys. You might be in a valley, but you're going to keep on going. You're going to keep on moving. And one of them said, like their preacher said, sometimes in life you feel like you're going through hell. That's not the time to stop and park on the side of the road. It's you keep on going. So peaks, you're going to be peaks and valleys, but you're going to keep on going. Okay. Our Mary Kay business, we're all trying to recruit 6 people, and we are trying to develop 3 red jackets on our team and do a 3,600. So that's going to require 3 things. It's going to require us selling products. It's going to require us personally team building, and it's going to require us working with our people, being a servant leader, because each one of you will end up being, red jackets to team leaders at least. And then you'll have that team of 3 red jackets on your team to win that trip. And so you want to realize that our Mary Kay, that the business is not for everybody. Not every single person is going to want, or even do we need on our team. But the products are for everybody. So you have a captive audience. Every single woman, every single person that you meet, they could either buy the products or they could be on your team. Okay, so just remember that. So if they say no to the business opportunity, then, they may say yes to the products. And if they, most people that say no to the products, I just, that's a non-issue to me, because it's so few that don't love the products. If you have a 0 party, I would say 99% is just because they did not have the money. It is not because they hated the products. 99% sure that is the truth. So I want you to kind of remember that. So it's a win-win. So make sure when you're sharing the products, and then you go to share the business plan, and you're doing an interview with someone, or you're sharing the company facts, that when you leave, if it's not for them as far as signing up, that you still have a good customer, because you don't want to turn them off on both, right? And sometimes we're so passionate about wanting to sign them up that, like, if they don't sign up, then we're like, you're out of here. I'm not even going to give you some cleanser, wrinkles to you. So I wanted to just kind of remind everybody of that. I thought that was a good tip. And these are some stats they shared, and I thought it was very good, and it really applies to us too. That and it's about people are looking for something. Okay, 40% of this country, if they got a bill that was an unexpected bill for $400, a $400 expense, that would devastate them. Like, they could not pay it. So if something happened to their car that was $400, or something happened to their house, or something, that would be enough to really cause them a lot of distress in their family. 78% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. Of that 78%, believe it or not, 10% of those people make more than $100,000. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. Isn't that something? There were $34 billion bank overdrafts last year. That's a lot. There were 9 billion payday loans. You know what that is, where you get a loan, you pay back on payday. $9 billion. So 80% of the people ask, if you ask 80% of the people, how much do they need to make a month extra to help them that would really, they feel like they're set free. And it's only $250. So I'll give you those stats to say, most of the people you ask, are you looking for something more? Could you use, you know, an extra $250 a month? They're going to say yes. So there are people out there that are looking to do what we do. So just know that, and don't prejudge, just know that they're out there. So like if you're thinking to yourself, nobody would want to do this, you're absolutely wrong. There are people that would want to do this, okay? Also, when someone tells you no, that you want to stay with them, it may just be no for now, not no forever. So, you know, keep them on the back burner, revisit them in a few months, and you may even ask them, say, are you telling me no for now or no forever? And if they go, well, just not right now, say, well, would you mind if I get back in touch with you in a few months? You know, and then put it on your calendar to get back in touch with them. A lot of people, or some people may say, you know, or Mary Kay doesn't work. What we know is that the system works. Mary Kay, we have a tried and true business plan that works. And, you know, I just talked to Lindy Blair, and she may be on a little bit later. She's one of my sales directors in Michigan. And last week she had a $1,450 party. And today she had another party with 5 people, and it was over $1,200. And so you can't tell me that doing a party, you cannot make money. We know it works. So sometimes when you're thinking this isn't working, Mary Kay doesn't work, and usually what it is you're not working. So that's just something to think about. When you really think about how many parties you've done, how many bookings have you got, how many leads did you get, if you work, the business is going to work. And most of the time it's because you're just not going through enough numbers, you know? So there's some that are trying to win the trip by simply posting on Facebook, I need a recruit. That doesn't work. I'm just going to tell you. I mean, I throw some stuff out there too. You'll see me do it. And I'll say, hey, if you got to, just to throw it out there. But to be honest with you, that is not how you're going to get to that cruise, by just chunking it out there on Facebook and begging for recruits. This relationship, you're going to have to meet people. You're going to have to facial people, and you're going to have to talk to people. And that's how you recruit people. Every now and then you may have someone that's been watching you for years that may get on there and say, hey, you know, I think that's a good idea. You know, talk to me about it. But I just want you to know that. So that can't be your only way to get recruits, is to throw it on Facebook. Okay. So I'm just speaking the truth. One of the things you want to do, and we have a great reason to do this right now, is have a why that makes you cry. Okay. A lot of the leaders talked about how they really didn't do much with their business until they had something happen, or something that they wanted so bad that would make them work when they didn't feel like it. And we talk about that in Mary Kay. And so what is that? What is that why that makes you cry? You know, and usually it's tied to something with a family member or something you want to do for your family. This one particular lady got up and talked about, it was her grandchild. And the grandchild was only, I think, 2. And it was fixing to have to go in daycare every day from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. And she was working, her husband was working, and her daughter who had the baby was working, and the husband was, or, you know, the baby's husband, dad was working. And so that was their only choice. And so she, as the grandmother, thought, you know what, I'm doing this. And so she got busy with her business, and within a few months, she was able to keep that grandbaby, is what she wanted to do, a few days a week. And she says, anytime I felt like not doing it, I just would pull up a picture of my grandbaby. Now, those of you that aren't grandmothers, that's not going to mean anything to you. So it might be your child. You might pull, you know, like something that you'd want to do to take, you know, send your child to college, or maybe your child's got a wedding coming up, or you see it coming, you know, or maybe you have a wedding coming up. You know, what would it be? What would it be? Right now, we have this cruise where, who are you going to take? Who are you going to take on that cruise? You've got to know that. And that's the person that you're going to have to be accountable to, and say, you know, I'm doing this. We're doing it together. I'm doing it for you. I need you to encourage me, you know. And I think that's going to help you win that cruise, is when you know who you're taking. So really, really think about that. I know a lot of you would take your husband if you're married, but I've heard some are taking their daughter, or some are taking their mom, some are taking their best friend. And so whoever it is, I mean, that's going to motivate you. I think it will. Okay, those were just some little tips that I thought were really, really good. There was another speaker that talked about this, and I had not ever heard this like this. I thought it was so good. And it said, most people are living like it's Saturday. And I thought, like they're off work? And they said no. And they started talking about it, and they said, you know, in the Bible, where Jesus died on the cross on a Friday, and Saturday, nothing happened, right? I mean, people are in mourning, they're grieving. No, everybody thought all was lost. And then on Sunday, he raised from the dead. Hallelujah, right? Okay. So they said, you know, that third day it came, and the third day is coming. And a lot of us, we're on that Saturday and we don't see anything happening. And we're just waiting and we're working and nothing's happening. But the third day is coming. So they say, like, the first day's trouble. The second is nothing. Nothing's happened. And then the third day is deliverance. And so you expect that Sunday, you know it's going to be coming, and you keep on going, because there's been a lot of my leaders lately, and I'm saying since December, have either had surgery, they're fixing to have surgery. One's having surgery tomorrow. One had surgery in December. Some have had, their mother has had surgery. We've had people with some severe illnesses. And it's that day, it's that first day of trouble. And then now they're going through the second day of healing, or, you know, caring for their loved one, or mourning someone that passed away. But the third day is coming. The third day is coming. So I just wanted to say that to you, just to kind of hold on and don't give up when you're in that second day period. You know, just like the peaks and valleys, don't die in the valley. Just hang on, okay? Okay. There was a lady, and I'm going to skip over there to her because she was so good. Her name is Terry Savelle Foy, and her dad is a pastor. His name is Jerry Savelle. You might have heard of him. She's from Lubbock, Texas, and she is a success motivational speaker. And she's written all these books, and so they hired her to come in to talk to their leaders. Okay, and so she was awesome. I don't know if she used to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, but she said that's really about all she's studied in college or so. Well, anyway, there's a whole nother story about her. So, but I want to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to tell you some of her success stories. She said that she was actually, she's a beautiful lady, but she was actually raped at 14 years old in a gym. And, you know, just horrible. She felt terrible about herself, and she felt unworthy, and lived her life that way. And, you know, got involved with people that didn't treat her because she didn't feel like she was worthy, so she let people treat her that way. And then she was a senior in college, and here's her dad's famous preacher, and she gets pregnant before marriage. And so she said, I just remember writing on a notebook, I want to die. I want to die. She said, you know, I thought, I'm going to shame my whole family, and just like one of the worst valleys of her whole life. She ended up marrying the man. They lost the baby, and then they ended up getting a divorce. And so she said she went on, and for 11 years, she worked, and she'd go to work, and then she'd come back. And, you know, she said, you know, I remember saying the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. She said, when I graduated from college, I remember looking at my parents and saying, I will never study again. And she said, and I didn't. She said, I didn't pick up a book. I didn't read anything. And she said it was like 11 or 13 years. She'll have to read her own book to get all the facts straight. But I just want to kind of line it up to you. She didn't even tell us all this to the end of her thing. I probably should have told you that at the end. But anyway, she's a very successful speaker now. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that she did. She said, you know, when you study, if you wanted to be the number one golfer, you would study and follow and learn everything you could about the number one golfer, Tiger Woods, right? If you wanted to be a great basketball player, you'd study Michael Jordan. If you wanted to be a successful person, you're going to study people that have success, right? So this is what she did. Well, first of all, she used the word drive. She said you have to have drive, D-R-I-V-E, and that's what I'm going to give you today. So she used the word drive, and the first D in drive stands for make a decision. And she talked about that a lot of people, or a lot of people's life, it's like a football game. And she said you got 60,000 people who need exercise watching 20 people on the field who need some rest. And most people live their life, they don't even get in the game. And so, we don't want to be that way, right? And so D stands for decision, to take responsibility. Take responsibility for yourself, of yourself, your debt, your health, your finances, and your work. That Zig Ziglar said, and you might have heard this, that you are where you are because it's exactly where you want to be. And Jim Rohn said, decisions make you turn your life around. Either are going to be one or two reasons: disgust or a dream. And so you get disgusted enough that you're going to do something about it. And I don't know if it was her, if she said this, that she went in and she was with a group of friends and her debit card just kept, like, she got embarrassed that it just would not go through, like she thought she had some money and she didn't. And finally she thought, I have got to do something. She's just disgusting, disgusted with her finances. So if you've ever been disgusted, like that, this is the last, and people have done this, like, that have lost a ton of weight. There was that point that they thought, I've had it. Okay, I cannot fit into one single thing. Or they look at a picture of themselves and say, that's disgusting. I'm fixing to do something about this. And there's something that just, they're either like, oh, this is it. And they change. And then other things that can make you make a decision is like a dream, a big dream. Okay, so one or the other. And she said, do not share your big dreams with small minds. So once you have your big dreams, don't go be sharing them with small-minded people. She told a story about this guy, I think his name Marty Roberts, who he was just like, I think 11 years old, from a poor family, and he wrote a paper, and they said, about your biggest dream. So he wrote this paper, and he said that he wanted to, he actually, in his family, they were kind of homeless, and they lived in the back of a horse trailer, and didn't even have a home, hardly. And so he wrote that he wanted to have thoroughbred horses, and he wanted to raise them and have champions, and have a horse farm and all the stuff. And the next day, the teacher handed it back and had a big F on it. And she said, you're poor, you come from a poor family, and it's my responsibility as a teacher to train you so that you won't grow up and be disappointed. And she said, so you can redo that paper and bring it back to me, and I'll change your grade. So he went home and he showed his uncle, who worked in the horses, or his dad or somebody. I know I'm not telling it exactly right. But anyway, and he said, what would you do? And what should I do? And his dad said, I can't tell you what to do, but what you do with this right here is going to affect you the rest of your life, this decision. So he came back and he gave her the paper back, and he said, here, you can take your F and I will keep my dream. And he ended up having the biggest horse, farm with champions and thoroughbreds, and did not allow that teacher to steal your dream. And she talked about how sometimes, women and men have something that somebody told them when they were in fifth grade, that they're still believing that lie that someone told them. You're not good enough. You could never do that. You need to settle on something that you'd be good at. When you had a little girl dream and somebody tried to squelch it. And so I thought that was really good. The R in drive stands for routine. And, you're rewarded in public what you practice in private. She had a thing when she decided that she was disgusted, that she said she was going to listen to a motivational CD, is when you used to have them in the car, and for 21 days in a row, because she had always heard that you did anything 21 days in a row will become a habit. So she got her a CD player and she put it in there. She went and took some from her parents. Her dad, too, is a minister, so she went and got some from him. And so every day, she said she had a sticky note on the front of her mirror, and it said, push play. So every morning, while she put her makeup on, she'd hit play. And she did this for 21 days in a row. And she said after 21 days, she started thinking different things and feeling different ways. And she thought, you know what? I'm gonna do it for the rest of the month. She said, so, I went and got some more and I listened for, the other 9 or 10 days. And then she thought, you know what, I really, I think it's helping me. So she ended up, getting some of her own, buying her own CDs and stuff. And she said that was in 2002, 16 years ago. And she's never missed a day yet of listening to positive, inspirational, successful, motivational CDs. Or now she does, of course, on the internet or on the podcast or whatever on her phone every single day, because what you listen to, what you hear starts changing your mind, right? She talked about like Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer, that he worked out 2 or 3 times a day. That, Tiger Woods was the first, and that, he's the greatest golfer in the world, right? And so he was the first golfer that started lifting weights. Like golfers don't lift weights, but he decided, I don't know if it's his coach or whatever, started lifting weights, and he totally changed his swing. And he's the best golfer in the world. He talked about Michael Jordan and how he would shoot, he would go shooting, practicing shooting. And I want to say it was like, I know it was like 2,000 shots a week or something like that, with no less than 500 a day. I mean, and he would even do it like practice for an hour, like before the game, every single game, 200 shots. And so practice, to make yourself great. The next one is I. So we got decision, we got routine, and I stands for investment. And the investment was in yourself. And tonight you're investing in yourself, or whatever time you're listening to this, is because you're taking the time to hopefully learn something that maybe will make you better. Okay. And so, what you have is what you are attracted. Okay. What you have attracts other things like it. For example, if you're sloppy, you're going to attract sloppy people. If you are a real organized organization, you're going to attract organization. If you're super sharp, you're going to attract other sharp people. If you have no goals, you're going to attract people with no goals. So the people around, the ones you've attracted to yourself, the ones that you hang around with the most, is because that's how you are. So if you want different people to hang around, you want to have different results in your life, you got to work on you. And so she said, if you learn to work harder at your job, then you'll make a living when you work hard at your job. But if you work harder on yourself, then you will make your vision come true. And so it's really about like all of the leaders that, and she said she interviews just tons of people that are successful, millionaires. And when she did, that most of them, they work more on themselves than their trade, like to make themselves a better person. And like for you and Mary Kay, when you work on yourself and you try to, you read some things that make you think differently, leadership books, the Bible, listen to the Boss Babe calls, listen to national sales directors, listen to our power call of the month, things like that. You're listening to different things to make you think a different thought. You're going to be more successful. You are, because you're investing in yourself. And she talked about how, at first, she went and bought these extra CDs. She put, taking them from her dad. And then, she said, I invested in like a conference she went to. And then she said, she went to something that cost like $1,000 and invested in herself. And anytime she's invested in herself, it is paid back, way more of what she learned. And I am in total agreement with that. Anytime you invest, like to go to career conference, to go to seminar, to go to all the directors going to leadership conference, we're investing in our business. We're paying the money. We're flying up to San Diego next week, and we are investing so that we can learn how to be better leaders. And we hope that we'll get some nuggets that we can come back and do some things differently and have some different results. Because that's the only way something's going to happen different is if you do something different, right? Well, she said you can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage habits. And I thought, that's good. That's really good right there. Okay. Let's see. The V stands for vision. And we talk about this a lot, Mary Kay, your vision, your goal. Vision is what you see with your eyes closed. You know, when someone asks you to imagine something, that's your vision, okay? Habakkuk 2:2, that we talked about this last week, says, you know, write your vision down, write it down. And she shared some stats that I shared last week, that 80% of people have no goal or vision. 16% have a goal, but they haven't written it down. 3% wrote it down, but they don't know where they put it. And 1% have goals that are written down, that they revisit them on a daily basis. And that 1% makes more than all the rest of them combined. And that's your winners, okay? So just that simple thing, and a lot of you have done this, is just take a poster board, a goal poster, a vision board, a book, and you write down your vision. And so she decided to write down her vision. She said, all right. She read all this stuff and she says, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So she wrote down in this book, and she said she had a vision of 4 things. And one was that she wanted to be on a TV broadcast with her dad, you know, help, you know, he does that ministry broadcast. So she wanted to do that. Number 2 was that she wanted to be an author, a book author. She's never written a book. That's what she wanted to do. Number 3, she wanted to do conferences with a theme, different themes. Okay. And number 4, she wanted to have a ministry that she helped troubled teenagers, because she feels like with what she went through, she could help. And in less than 5 years, she did every single thing. And she showed us this book where she said fake pictures. Like, she had a picture of her, and it was with John Maxwell, but it was a fake picture of them on stage. And then she had, you know, like all these things. She had a picture of her at Barnes and Noble going like this. And of course, she hadn't written a book, but it was like that she had written a book, right? And so she had these visions, and she said before 5 years was even up, every single one of them had come true. Every single one of them. And so, and we've heard this over and over in Mary Kay. And why don't we believe it, right? We need to believe it. And she said the main thing that stops people from this is when they write down those goals, they get stopped by going, well, how's that ever going to happen? And she said, don't let the stop stop you. I mean, the how stop you. Instead, just let the dream push you to do it. Don't worry about the how. Just start writing it down. Start investing in yourself. Start getting around other people that have done what you want to do. And it's going to change how you work and how you live. You start with the end, like the final scene. They said she went to a famous actor's house, and I cannot remember who it was. You know, you know how you're writing furiously, right? And she said that he had this glass board on the wall, and he had all these like little index cards all over the wall. And he said, well, what is that? And they said, well, that's my next movie. And she goes, oh, how did you ever come up with all that? You know, and he said, oh, well, it's easy. I just start with this one, the final scene. And he goes, you know, every movie has, you know, the good guys, the bad guys, the drama, the twists, the turns. And so I just start with the final, and then I just fill in the blanks. And she said, so anytime you have a goal, you just start with that final thing, and then you're going to fill in the blanks. And then the E on the word drive is, it stands for what's it going to take to do all this? And the E stands for everything you've got. Everything you've got. And she talked about an experiment, and I thought I knew where she was going with this, but I didn't. She said they had these bumblebees, and they did experiments in space. So they took these bees and they took them up in space. And the first couple of days, they're just floating around, like just in Wonderland. They didn't have to flap their wings, the bees are just floating around. And on day 4, every single bumblebee died, dead as a wedge. And the scientists all, studied all this and discovered that, bees were not designed to live without resistance and flapping their wings. They weren't designed. And so every single one of them died. And so never feel sorry for yourself, because you don't want to let your past determine your future. And you don't let your past change your future. Les Brown says, go after your dreams as if your life depends on it. And it really does. And, Mary Kay talked about that, how she about the story of someone who, asked this wise person about, what made you successful? What tips can you give me? And they took him to the ocean and they went down and they said, come on out here with me. They said, okay, I can't wait. What's he going to tell me? What's he going to tell me? And then he took him and held his head underwater. And then he lifted me back up. And he's like, what are you doing that for? And then he did it again. And the last time he just held it there the longest time till the man thought, I'm going to die. This guy's crazy. He's going to drown me. And then he finally let him up and he's gasping for air and he can't hardly breathe. And he said, what is going on? I mean, why are you trying to drown me? He says, when you want success as much as you wanted to breathe, that's when you'll have it. And so, in Mary Kay, it's really like, how bad do you really want it? If you want success and if you want to be successful, you want to get that trip and be on that cruise, you'll get it if you really, really want it. And you don't share these dreams with small-minded people. If you're hanging around a bunch of women that all they do is they're all broke, they all complain, they're all gossipers, there's nobody going anywhere anytime soon, and you share your big dream with them, do you think they're going to go, you can do it, I know you can do it? No, they're going to go, you can't do that. What makes you think you could do that? Like, what makes you think you could do that? No, so you're going to share your dreams and your big, big dreams with big thinkers, like your sales director, your mentor, maybe your recruiter, maybe not. I don't know. If your recruiter's not in the ball game, maybe don't share with her. You share with somebody doing something. And so I just thought these were some great tips for all of us that we all, just could learn a lot from. And I think one or two last tips that I thought were good was a quote. It said, compete, don't pair. And don't compare. Compete only with yourself. And don't compare yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to the red jacket sitting next to you. Don't compare yourself to your sales director or somebody else that came in and did it in a month. Just compete with yourself. Be, your best self. And it's hard not to compare because we do like the scoreboard. We like to see our name on top. We want to know what everybody else is doing because it kind of motivates us, but it also could shut you down. It really could. So, Mary Kay, Ash always said, when they train in horses, they put blinders on them like this so they can't see to the right or the left. And when you're running, you just run in your own lane. Don't look over there. Don't look over there. Just run your own race. And just compete with yourself so that you will improve where you were this last year this time, or even last month this time. Okay, let me see if there's anything else that I want to share with y'all. I hope y'all one thing they did talk about was about going to the events and staying plugged in, which we have talked about that a lot. And then there was one lady that got up there and she had a paper plate. And she said she had everything. She said, write everything down on the paper plate, what you do, like all the things you do in a day, or in a week or in a month or whatever. And, most people have like family time, they have their faith. On hers, it had like TV, and another one, it said, what was the other one? TV and something else. And anyway, she said, when you start a new business, like let's say you're recruiting somebody or even yourself, we only have, everybody has 24 hours in a day. So when you start something new, like Mary Kay, something has got to be scraped off the plate. And normally you're not scraping your family off the plate or your faith off your plate, right? Maybe, but you might have to scrape, reality TV off your plate, or, regular TV off your plate. Brad and I, we didn't even have cable for the first few years. I think we got it recently only because it came with the internet and a phone, and it was cheaper to do it that way. And like when we have hurricanes, we watch TV every now and then, and little bit of Hallmark. Okay. But for the most part, honestly, you could take the cable. I would not even miss it. We don't even miss it. Some people spend, way too much time scrolling on Facebook. That means you may have scraped some of that off the plate, right? Because to have time to do what you want to do, you got to say, what was I doing that I could not do? When I started selling Mary Kay, we didn't have cell phones, so I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. But I was cross-stitching. I like to cross-stitch, but that's what I was doing. I was cross-stitching at night, like anyway, and so I'm like, I think I can quit that for a minute, you know, my crafting to go do a Mary Kay party. Some of the guys that got up there, they talked about how they golfed really 4 hours, you know, several times a week. And when they added it up, it was like a whole day and a half that they could be working on their business. And so they gave up that for a season to work and to be with their family. And so, ladies, you know what you do if you have a full-time job, what you do at night. Some of you have children, of course, and some of you have to, you're going to have to juggle a little bit and figure out. And one of the ladies was like, if it's your son, it's his senior year, you don't want to miss a ball game. That's fine. You're going to do your appointments around other times, but you still have to do them. You got to figure out what you could give up. And she really talked about getting up. The Terry talked about really getting up early. She said successful people, they're wealthy, they get up 2 or 3 hours before they go to work, and they do. They command their morning. We talked about that last week with goal setting and prayer time, and setting up your day for success. And so there are some things that we all could work on. I know there's things that I could work on when I heard all of this, and I know you've probably heard of a couple things too when I'm talking about, like, but this isn't the time to beat yourself up either. It's just the time to regroup. It's the first of the year, so everybody's making changes, making adjustments. So maybe you could think of some of the things that I said that maybe you could work on, so that the next 6 months you could earn a cruise for you and a special person. And get that win in Mary Kay. Be on the very first consultant director cruise trip that they have ever done in 55 years. Be on the very first one. And they're going to do it again. And so you could say, I've never missed one of those trips, ever. But you got to do it this time, right? So I wanted to give you those tips. See my time here. And there's a couple of other things in here, but that's the main thing I wanted to kind of leave with y'all today. And I want to encourage you that when we are in San Diego, most of us are going, we're going this week, but most of us are going, the next week. We're actually going to do the Boss Babe call. I'm going to be on Valerie's time zone next week, because it'll be 6 o'clock in California and 9 o'clock in Georgia, but we will have it next week. So plan to call in, and then on the last one, we'll have that one too. So we're not going to miss the Boss Babe call, because we want to keep y'all going all year long, right? Because we're all excited. We've all got new goals, and I know I do, and a lot of you have committed to do things different. So you want to just commit to invest in yourself by getting on the calls, by going to your success meetings, by registering for a career conference the day it comes out. Go to your jump starts if you haven't already gone, and plug in with successful people. It's power surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. I promise you. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.